Hello, everyone. My name is David Lyons. I live in Northwest Iowa, and I've been asked to do Mod 4 of the application, walking in someone else's shoes. And so I'd like to talk to you a little bit today about a conversation I had about a year and a half ago, and hopefully this encourages you on the back end. We get to serve a lot of different people, but the Lord's opened a lot of doors that we also have the opportunity to serve churches and pastors, pastoral care support, be a sounding board, be a confidential place. And we have a lot of different denominations that we interact with. And as I mentioned, about a year and a half ago, I had a conversation with a local Reformed pastor. His name is Russell. And we meet weekly, a group of us. And I just asked him, I said, Russell, I grew up Baptist, Methodist. I got born again in an Assembly of God church. My faith tradition is not one of infant baptism. I've always taught and been taught that the Bible calls us to repent and to be baptized. So I've always taught a believer's baptism, not infant baptism. And I just said, Russell, can you please share anything with me about that? And before I mention what he said, I'd just like to point out that pedobaptism, as infant baptism is also called, is not uncommon. In the Catholic Church, it is a necessary means of salvation. It actually causes regeneration, according to Wayne Grudem, his book Systematic Theology. He actually tackles this issue. I'd encourage you guys to get that. And it's very common, pedobaptism, infant baptism is very common in Protestant churches as well. Faith traditions like the Reformed Church, Presbyterian, Episcopalian, some Methodist, Lutheran. And so it's not uncommon, and it is likely that you will come across someone that believes this. And so as I was asking Russell, his answer was this. He said, well, in the Old Testament, the sign of entrance into the covenant community of God was physical circumcision. Male babies were born, and then on the eighth day, I think it is, they were circumcised. And then in the New Testament, Paul and others talk about baptism being parallel to circumcision of heart. And so for those that are pro infant baptism, their idea is that in the Old Testament, the sign of entrance into the covenant community was circumcision, a physical event that happened to enter in the covenant community. In the New Testament, it's baptism for children. So for them, it's a sign of entrance into the covenant community of God. And also, he said, and you would have to explain things like Acts 16 with the Philippian jailer. It says that he believed and he and his household were saved. I'm sorry, he and his household were baptized. So it seems like the jailer is born again and yet all are baptized. And so while I disagree with the conclusions, and that's for another topic, I disagree with that, I at least could enter into his world, I guess, or his worldview. I would put myself in his shoes, and I can understand why people of that faith tradition would teach that. And so the question for those of us who disagree with that is, I have a question, is why do we do baby dedications? What's the scriptural support for that, and what is the reasoning for that? And so that's just a thought I'd like to leave you with. My purpose is not to believe in infant baptism or not. It's just when Jesus, many times in the New Testament, Jesus asked the people he encountered, he asked the questions, do you want to be well? What would you have me do for you? John's baptism, was it from men or was it from God? And that's a good way of entering into their world, putting yourself in their shoes. I work a lot in the ministry that I work with. I work a lot with drug addicts, the homeless, those with mental health issues. And of course many of them have drug addictions, but why do they have drug addictions? I believe it was Ravi Zacharias one time who said, too often we spend time answering the question and not the questioner. And in evangelism especially, but in ministry, far too often we can give a diatribe or a monologue of some doctrine, and the reality is it's not the real question of someone's heart. So I would encourage you in an application in this module 4D, walking in the other shoes, I would encourage you, ask questions, have empathy, be humble, listen, and find out not only what people are saying, but what are they not saying. Enter into their world and see if it doesn't help you bring Jesus into the real cry of their heart, as opposed to a peripheral issue. And so I would encourage you guys, when you're reading the Word, but also when you're reading the Word, put yourself in the text what would you, in the narrative, if it's a narrative story, what would you have felt like? What would you have thought? And then in a ministry level, if you're ministering to others, listen, put yourself in their shoes. What are they feeling? What are they thinking? What were their motivations? Why? And I think a lot of times that might help you bring Jesus into that situation. I hope this encourages you. May the Lord bless you and have a great day. Thank you, guys.